Hello, friends. This is Avish Parashar from BeFunnyAsASpeaker.com. One of the most common things people ask about when it comes to adding humor or just telling stories in general is, what stories do you tell? What story should I tell in my presentation? Well, the best place to start is look for the stories you're already telling. When you hang out with your friends or your family or coworkers, there's probably a couple of stories, a handful of stories that come up from time to time that you love to tell, that your friends love to hear, that people laugh, that sometimes people say, oh, tell us that story. Those are good stories to see how you can weave those into your presentations. And there's a good reason for that. If you like telling the story, number one, it's probably a good story that people like. Number two is that you're going to be willing to tell that story and work on it. I mean, unless you're doing a one-off speech, the stories you tell in your speeches, you're going to tell over and over and over again. You got to like them. And those are the ones that are going to work best for you. And when we talk about being authentic, that is how you make sure that you're being authentic as a speaker. Tell stories that you like to tell. When I first started doing my keynote speaking, I told a story that it was a good little story, and the audience even liked it. Sometimes I get comments about it afterwards. It was a story about an argument I had with an ex-girlfriend about how we put the mugs away. But what I found was that I never told that story anywhere but on stage. Not before I'd put it in my keynote, not after. Like, it's just not a story I would ever tell. And what I found is, maybe the first couple of times I got a good response, I was getting into it. But as I told it over time, it just wasn't resonating with me. And I think I was losing connection with the audience. I found over time that that story seemed to get less of a reaction. And I think that's because since it's not a story I particularly enjoyed telling anyways, I was losing my steam and momentum for doing it. So look through your presentations. Are there stories that you're telling in your presentations that you never tell anywhere else, that you don't enjoy bringing up, that you don't talk about? You may want to consider cutting those out, because that's taking some of your own speaking joy away. And really, you want to have fun when you're speaking. It's also going to disconnect you from the audience, because they'll get that sense that it's not something you do anyways. And then on the other hand, look for stories you're telling anyways. That's where my best stories have come from now, is I pay attention to, what do I like to joke about with my friends? Stories do I like to tell them? What stories do they request? I said, okay, can I weave that in? And when I do that now, I have more fun telling my speech. The audience connects better, and I know I've got good stories because we tell them many times anyways. So that's the first place I would start. Think back to the past weeks, months, even years, if you can remember. What are some of those stories you tell? And then as you go forward from this point, think about pay attention to those stories as they come up, because those are going to be the gold that you need to use in your presentations.